Oh, I take it you were busy.
I was pulling out knives and stuff for this show, and I didn't think. Man, I started that a while ago. I lost track of time, so I almost missed my own show. So
That would have been different.
yeah,
As usual, I thought it was me because I'm not very good at taking instructions.
yeah. I hope we didn't lose everybody because we didn't. Usually, we're right on time, right at
We should be all
5 o'clock. But
they'll start coming in once they see it going up.
yeah,
How's your day been?
pretty good, pretty good. I was trying to get some videos going, and I never did make a video, but I made one last night, so I put that on.
Well, I made one about 5 o'clock today because Sally was away down in Dublin with one of the daughters and the grandchildren at the zoo, the Dublin Zoo, and she didn't get back there till, God, it must have been about 8 o'clock tonight, and we just had dinner sort of thing. So
yeah.
she's shattered, so she's going to bed.
Wow. How long does that take? How long of a drive is that?
About 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No.
I'm going to the beach this weekend, and it's like a 6-hour drive to get to the beach for me.
Yeah, you have a different philosophy in driving. We very rarely drive 2.5 hours. It's really an occasion.
Well, I'm that way. Now, when I was younger, I it was nothing to drive 10 hours or more. But,
There's somebody come in. Broke as knives.
Hey, Broke as knives. We're all alone here today. We haven't really got into the subject yet. We're just kibitzing. But, hey, anyhow. And,
yes, when we had a motorhome, I'd have drove for hours upon hours. That wouldn't have bothered me how far I would have drove. I love driving it.
Down.
Well, all over Ireland, over in England, Wales.
Yeah, I used to love to drive. It just wears me out kind of now. Hey, Timothy, how you doing, brother? Yeah, we're starting to get folks in. What is it? Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Tuesday, all day.
I need to go grab something to drink. So,
okie doke. What have you two gents been carrying today? Stick it in the chat there. What you've been carrying, please. To see what you're carrying. Where is mine? I've left it in the front room. Oh well. I was carrying a UK PK today, and I've left it in the front room with the rest of my stuff. Hello, Ronald. How are you doing? You're very welcome.
All right. Thank you, Stephen.
No problem. Timothy was carrying a buck 302. Nice carry. Nice carry. Yeah, if you weren't in here, what were you carrying today? Hello, there's Tim. Tim School of Fish is in. Patriot Knife and Tools. You're very welcome, Dwayne. Broker's 9 has got the GEC 23 Pioneer. Lovely knife.
Woohoo. Nice.
Lovely knife. Yeah, just take a while, fellas, if you want to pick up what you were carrying.
I don't really carry my GEC knives because they're so expensive. I don't know what. I probably will. I'll probably end up, carrying them. I have carried them, like around town or something like that.
Oh, George.
I just have so many other knives. So
we were talking about this, me and Baldy, old Mikey on my channel. And like we were just saying, I'm at that age now where 65, coming 66, and if I don't start using some of my knives, it'll be a complete waste of money because I'll go to my grave and not know whether they're good or bad. And I've just decided now I'm using everything. That's it. I've gone off the safe queen thing completely.
Yeah, you're not thinking about your inheritance. You just gonna be greedy about it. Hey,
No,
to Tim School of Fish,
yeah,
good to
none of
see
my
you.
kids, none of my kids want my knives. They're not interested. So
Well,
I'm going to use them.
um, so Stephen and I had a conversation last week about who who makes the best knives in the world, and when we were talking about that, we just ruled out custom knives because I think when you get into custom knives, everybody's acting on a very high level, and it really gets hard to say what country is producing the best knives. You can argue more custom knives come out of America than any other place, but other than that, I don't think you could really say one's better than another. Some are better here, some are better there. But we got into talking about uh, what about factory knives, and that led to just a rabbit hole, all kinds of different um, things we could talk about today. When you start talking about factory knives and if you put a cost on it, higher end versus lower end, um, uh, what do you call a factory? Um, like it's my contention that uh, the English really don't have a knife factory, right? So that they're so small. Um, I don't know. I don't know how you would categorize that type of
Yeah,
situation where you got 20 people making a knife.
yeah. That's, I suppose if it is a factory as such because it's not custom made. Yes, it's made by people, but they do use some modern machinery, but very, very little state of the art stuff. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's still very much that made the old fashioned way on purpose because it's their selling point.
Yeah.
So, you could say it's a factory, but I don't think they'll come into the world's best on their factory knives, to use just the phrase.
Well, I got to tell you, I've got a knife made by Lee White, and I consider that the best knife in my collection.
Uh,
I mean, it's flawless. It's a
Lee White, yeah.
very high quality standard. It's made to a
It,
very high quality standard.
it's
Was
as
not
close
that
to,
expensive, so I paid $236 for it.
yeah, that's pretty good.
You got case knives now going for 600, and
Yeah.
and
Lee,
go ahead.
when Lee White makes a knife and he signs his name on that bit of paper, you're getting basically a custom knife.
I got it here. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
I've got one here. Yeah.
All right. Hey, I'm going to put you on the single screen, and I'm going to go grab that knife.
Okay. This is my custom.
Lee.
Custom. This is a Lee White, Taylor's eyewitness, and he was making them solely by himself for quite a while there, but he now has apprentices. I think he has two, and one of them's a lady as well. And I don't know much about her, but I need to find out. But when he makes a knife, it is custom standard, highly polished. I mean, this one has beautiful ironwood on it. Really lovely. And my camera on this is not going to pick it up, but it's beautifully mottled ironwood through it. Big fat end to it. I love that because your little finger gets out. Your last two fingers just grip that knife. You're working with that last two fingers. You can do whatever you want as long as you have that secure grip. And I just think these are as close to custom. So it's not really what we're talking about tonight. Although you could say it's from Taylor's Eyewitness Factory, it really isn't. Do you know what I mean? It really isn't.
Well, that's what I mean. How do you classify? I think I think you can have a business, right, with just a couple people, yourself even.
Yeah.
That's your business, but really, I don't consider that a factory made knife. What is a factory? I think we all know what a factory is.
Yeah.
like GEC is a small concern, but that's a factory.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how many employees they have. They don't have a whole lot of employees either. But let me show you that.
I think it would be unfair to class them as a production knife. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that would be fair to put it up against normal production knives because
GEC?
No, I'm talking about the Taylor's Eyewitness, Lee White.
Oh yeah.
So and Ashley Harrison, I can't put him up, because he makes his. I mean, the both boys. I mean, Lee White, Ashley Harrison, Michael May, Stephen Cocker. Yeah, so, that's a beautiful, the slim penknife.
Right. So look at the work back on that.
Yeah.
This thing is flawless. So the only flaw I can find on this knife is there's a little spot back in the back on the mother of pearl, but that's like material flaw, not a knife flaw.
Yeah.
This thing is just fantastic, and it's about a 3.5-inch knife. It's that typical English
slim Barlow.
Yeah. And but I mean, when you look at knives in this range, German knives, a lot of German knives are in that range and higher. And I just don't see that it's
well, there's an old, what you would probably call the factory version of that knife that you have.
Okay, good.
This is an older Taylor's Eyewitness, in that exact same shape, same thinness, but this one just has a phenolic. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's that sort of high-end plastic, but it's a really beautiful solid knife made by them, and you can see where the new bolsters came from. They took a lot off this one.
Right.
You can see that. But they're just lovely knives, lovely slim knife to stick in your pocket.
All right. So what we're going to do, guys, Broke AC says it's tough to beat companies like GEC and Northwoods for production of traditional. So I want to ask you, Broke AZ, would you say that GEC produces the best knife in the world then? Factory knife, factory production. That's what we're talking about here. And so I want to come. I hope you're honest and upfront. There's no answer for this, right? It's an opinion. It's an opinion. So just throw out there what you think, and we're going to talk about it.
Well, I'm going to
get those type of knives. I think this is the best knife in the world, right? That's not custom. But then you look at the fact that it's a very small outfit that's actually producing those knives.
There's only one knife maker makes them at a time. You get a little sheet with it. I'm sure you got one with yours, and it gives you the signature of the maker of the knife. So if it's Lee White made the whole knife. If he's now got another girl who's qualified, and she can sign her own now. So she signs if she's made it. So that's why I think it's a bit unfair, because it's really like a custom.
Right. And I've got a few of those. I don't have a whole lot like you do, but I do. And so I'm going to throw out there my opinion. And I know, I can tell you Stephen and myself disagree on this, right? So we had a pretty good discussion earlier. But I'm going to throw out there who I think has the best factory production in the world, and then we'll go from there. And so this is going to get dicey really quick. Hey, Jesse and Randy, Jesse, you're just checking in, and I forgot to go on, so I was late for my own show. So there it is, right? So I'm going to throw it out there. I think the Chinese have the best factory production of knives in the world. What do you say about that, Patty?
I'm going to have to, because I've thought long and hard, I mean, and I want to start off by this saying GEC is my favorite production knife company because of the style of knife they make. But if you want to go for just genuine out and out fit and finish, highest materials, this is a Jack Wolf knife, an S90V,
Yeah.
super quality knife, top quality knife.
Right.
And I would have to say, if you're going to go for the modern factory, definitely China has the rest of the world beat as far as modern factory knives, in my opinion.
Well, and I would extend that to traditional knives too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I pulled some out. This is very inexpensive knife. Now I will give you that they're dumping knives on the world right now, but this little queen right here is perfect. It's a perfect knife. It's a traditional knife. It's not that machine production. It's made like a traditional knife.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. So I don't know how you can beat that. I have nothing to say about this knife as far as the quality of it, how it's built, how it's put together, the artistry of the knife. It's just, how do you beat that? I don't know.
And I think we sort of both are obviously going to agree that if you want to buy a modern knife, a Chinese company is definitely, they have the biggest workshops, they are factories, they have the most up-to-date modern machinery. So their ability to run out clone knives that look exactly the same almost every time, fit and finish is going to be good, the materials is good. They're hard to beat. But
yes, it'll shave Tim's beard.
Yeah, but as far as traditionals go, I'll step away from them because I haven't seen a Chinese traditional that could match a GEC, in my opinion.
That's interesting. Because of the work on the bone?
Not only just the work on the bone, the fact that it is a traditional company, do you know what I mean, that still makes knives as close to they can. I mean, they use modern machinery now as well, but they do hand finishing. It is a small company, and there's a bit of love, and there's a bit of, I go an awful lot on feel. I don't know whether people in the audience see it. So I feel I'm getting a traditional knife from GEC. Although, yes, they use modern machinery, more and more now, and all companies will. And all knife companies have done over the years. I mean, once you find something new that's good, you bring it into the factory and you start using it.
Right.
It makes sense.
I'm trying to get there. You can see it a little bit. That's GEC's jigging right there.
It's beautiful.
And this is a Remington reproduction that GEC made. Beautiful, just fantastic knife.
And the thing is, they made that for Smoky Mountain, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did. They made it for Remington.
Yeah. But I mean, they charged an arm and a leg for that one. I refused it. It was so expensive when it came out.
I didn't pay that much for this knife, so
yeah, I very rarely do.
I mean, I paid $196, I think, for that knife.
Yeah, but they were well over £200 here if we had bought them.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. I don't know if I have a knife to counter that from China. I'm sure I probably do. I didn't pull a lot of Chinese knives out, but yeah, well, yeah.
So what do you think in the audience? What is your favorite production knife in the world? What's your favorite company in the world for making production knives? And even if you want to give two, if you want to give one for modern and one for traditional, give us one of each. Just so we can see what you are thinking.
Yeah, Brocade C says China hasn't exactly hit the mark yet. And
Yeah.
I think if you move away from the Chinese, and it depends what you're talking about, whether you're talking about um, traditional knives or whether you're talking about modern folders. Um, if you move away from the Chinese, I think the U.S. definitely produces the best knife in the world right now.
Well,
And go ahead.
here's where I would be contradicting on that. I believe if you go to budget traditional knives, Rough Rider, you can't beat them for that price. You cannot beat. I think they're amazing for that price.
Well,
And
I'm saying if you move away from China,
uh,
I'm telling you, there ain't no way China can make those knives and sell them for $9 and $12. They're not. You know, the
but
materials in the knife cost that. They are dumping knives in the U.S. There's no question about that.
but that's. I mean, are we going to take that as a? Are we just going to cancel the Chinese out then?
Yeah.
Completely?
So I think we agreed. I didn't see anybody that countered that in the comments about China. So let's move China out of that and say, if you take China out of the equation, who produces the best pocket knife in the world? And then we could talk about whether they're modern folders or traditional folders. But I think it would be hard to beat. Maybe on an individual basis, you can beat America from here to there in a special isolated incident. But overall, with consistency in mind, I don't think you can, because when you look at these other knives from around the world, I mean, this is what is this? This is an Italian knife, Nautica. Really good knife, by the way. I really like this knife. It's got the modern screws in it, and really, really nice knife. But it's just not up to like a buck, a good buck. And so I think they come close. I think they're good knives, but there's a lot of things about them, like a lot of them are brushed on them. A lot of them have, a lot of modern milling on them. They're tight, but they're just not up to the standard of, this knife's incredible right here. This buck knife, I bought this about 3 weeks ago, just their standard 110. And this is a fantastic knife for $56. And I think that's hard to beat. I don't know of anybody producing a knife like that out of Europe that can beat that.
Well, that's the other thing. In Europe, we wouldn't be buying the lock-in folding knife a lot because it's not legal to carry here. So it's sort of, that takes it out of the question for a lot of European countries.
Well, if you just look at this, these are all 3 inches. Okay,
Yeah.
all of these would be UK legal.
Are they lockable?
You get a brush blade there. Not a bad steel, but not a great steel either. Just the work on this is just not really hitting what a case or a buck.
Oh, I agree with that.
Would hit. And
but here I'm going to throw. We're talking about how the best production companies in the world, and I'm going to throw one at you, which I find is probably, as far as fit and finish goes, one of the highest in the world, and that is Moki in Japan.
Yeah.
And I have a little Moki. This is a little Moki lock back here with a burlwood handle, complete mirror finish, which is exceptional.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just good. It is a proper mirror finish. Beautiful knife. The fit and finish on this little knife is stunning. Absolutely stunning. And they've been making knives for a very long time. to an extremely high standard, and they're not that expensive. You know, for what we're saying is, I mean, this was about £150, which I think, well, I pay that for a GEC,
Yeah.
but I mean, this is really high quality, but not a lot of people know much about Moki.
This
Because
is let me show you this one. I think you've seen this before. This is a katsu made in Japan. This is carbon fiber scales on this. This is a larger knife now. This is like a 4-inch folder. It is a liner lock too. Man, I'm just trying to get that in there.
You've got it. You're all right. You're all right. No, it's looking good.
And the quality on this thing is just phenomenal, you know. And I paid $80 for it out of Japan. Liner lock.
But do you not think that Japan has suffered probably more than any other country by China?
Because, yeah, and I think the other thing about Japan is, you know, they actually, a lot of the knives you get from the 90s up to like 2010 were made in Japan. Like Cold Steel made all their knives in Japan, and then went to Taiwan. And I think they've suffered the same problems as everywhere else in the world. They have a hard time getting people who want to make knives, you know, work in a factory, right? They all want to be a boss somewhere in an office. And so, you know, I think everywhere in the world has suffered that problem. But I also think they're just they've come back, right? So like you mentioned, Moki, this is Katsu. It's a new upstart, fantastic knife, $80. And it's hard to beat the quality on it, comparable to a Chinese knife. And, you know, I want to buy more of their knives because I think like you were showing that Almar, I think they're coming back. You know what I mean? I think they're really putting out some really high quality stuff.
Yeah, I think you're missing out if you don't try some Japanese knives.
I haven't seen. There may be out there like I just happened upon that Katsu, but there may be some traditionals out there they're making, and we just haven't seen them. You know.
Well, Moki make an awful lot of that. All right, a lot of them may be lockbacks, but they do make slip joints as well. And they are just amazing knives. Mm-hmm. Slick Slicers has quite a few Japanese ones. I would try him, but then you know, it's the hard thing about this is, I mean, there's a Lethers, which is a French knife, right? Most French knives, they're all right. I've got a few of them. They're all right knives. There's nothing, you know, their fit and finish isn't as good as anywhere. But Lethers is just the most amazing fit and finish.
Yeah.
It is a beautifully made knife. Now, you're going to pay a couple of quid for this.
Yeah.
But it's a couple of quid really worth spending.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful, beautiful knife.
And yeah, I think in France, once you get above the middle ground there, they make some fantastic high-end knives. But once you got to get above that middle ground, because the middle ground I think is really less. It's behind probably Spain, you know, in their quality on their budget lines.
Yeah.
But Kathleen wanted to know where does Sachs come in on this discussion?
Well,
about who makes the best knives in the world.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't class them as a knife. I class them as a multi-tool.
Okay.
Now, that's just my opinion. An awful lot of people say, you know, you call all the tools blades, but then where do you stop? Do you go Leatherman then as well?
Yeah.
I
think a lot of people forget that. And that's where, you know, knife collecting is different than somebody who collects knives, right?
Yeah.
So when you're a knife collector, you have to kind of put categories on things so that you can keep it all straight and in line, and so that it makes sense. And a sack though would not be considered a multi-tool. If you have a knife blade on it, it's a knife, right? And so once you put a knife on a Leatherman, it becomes a knife, and it's a multi-tool knife, a multi-blade knife, but it's a knife. But I wouldn't, I don't know.
Personally, I wouldn't count it as a knife. I collect them. I have a selection of them, and I think they're fantastic. But if I'm talking about knives, it's not what I would put in my knife bracket.
That's true. So, Randy, you're right. So, that's. I don't think that's where Kathleen was coming from, but I think you're right. And maybe I misunderstood her point, but Randy says they make single blade sacks too, so that's true.
They do.
Right. They would be just the term Swiss.
Yeah,
we think of the multi-bladed knife when we talk about sacks. We don't really think about the single blade ones.
But yeah, the single blade ones are great knives as well. And even the double blades. I mean, they've got some small pen knives, which are absolutely fantastic. Very slim, very light to carry.
Right. So let me just say, Stephen and I had this was part of our conversation a little while ago, and that was I was pointing out that I really don't think Swiss Army knives are that high quality. Now they're rugged, they're durable, they hold up, and in that sense, they're quality. But when you put a multi-bladed knife in, the one I had at the time we were talking about was made by Otter. When you put that Otter up to a Swiss Army knife, or you take a Westinghouse and put it up to the Swiss Army knife, there's no comparison. They're made better. And so it's a whole kind of different thinking if you're talking about Swiss Army knives, Kathleen. We're kind of like, I don't know, it's fair game. It's one of the things we went down the rabbit hole. We didn't think about that, Stephen. So what about modern folders? Okay. We're talking about this. We've been talking about traditionals. How do you all feel about putting American modern folders up against Spanish ones or Italian ones or German ones? How do they fare? Who's making the best modern folder? If you exclude China, I think we all agreed that China makes the best knife. But if you exclude China, what do you guys think there? I don't think GC makes a modern folder.
They make a couple of fixed blades, but that's as close as they're going to get.
Case does. I don't know that
GC makes fixed blades.
I don't have a Case modern folder. Does Case make a modern folder?
Yes, they do. Yeah, they've only just started this last few years, and the credit.
Oh, that's right. The Kinza, yeah.
Yeah, they do make a few. I'm going to put this one up because it's a company that has been producing knives in America. All right, the owner was South African, but he now lives in America and has factories in America. Chris Reeves.
Right.
Been about for, over 20 years now, I believe.
Right.
And they produce an amazing factory knife.
This is a Ziba. Man, this thing is so dark. You can kind of see it right there. They're really cool. Yeah. They got this really cool dragon tail clip on it. This is all titanium. It's Magna cut. It's really hard to show right here, but you could see the top square there, the tang shining. It's all mirror polished. Beautiful accent here. This knife was in the $200 range. Actually, I think I paid less for it. because that's just the way I am. Look at this blade, made in America now. Okay, now, so this guy Ziba is a Polish citizen, but he came to America. He's making knives in America, and that's just really cool looking. Look how wicked the tip is on that. See if I can't get it. There you go. So, yeah, if you get into the upper end, America produces a pretty good modern folder.
Well, and for me, in all reality, if I'm going to be honest, probably the best production company for modern knives in America and probably the world will be Spyderco. I think they're a good sized company. They've produced for years.
Yeah,
And they the first company to put pocket clips on knives. They also dealt with the sharpening aspect for people who didn't sharpen. They've done everything for the knife world. They try steels that other companies are too frightened to try, and they'll try them before they produce them and let other people try them.
right.
I just think there isn't many companies around the world who could beat Spyderco for the variation. All right, they got a bit stuck on their design. They haven't had many great new designs, but every year they come up with an international knife.
Yeah,
I think they're hard to beat. The quality is usually excellent.
I've got a Spyderco knife, but it's made in China. I don't have an American one, so I didn't bring it out because I figured we were going to get off of China at some point.
This is one of my favorite knives. There's a Spidey Chef. I think this is just a stunning knife, an amazingly underrated knife. And the reason it's underrated is because not a whole lot of people are going to spend £320 on it. Do you know what I mean? If they made one with a G10 scale and that blade shape, this is an LC200, so it's not an expensive blade steel.
Right.
But if they could do this with a G10 or micarta and reduce the price, because 320, all right, it's titanium, it's got all the bells and whistles, but it's too dear for your average knife buyer is not going to spend 300 odd pound on a knife, no matter how good it is, because you could get something in this similar shape from China for half of that price. And I think that's a shame that Spyderco are not cashing in by getting that, making it a downsized model, maybe not LC200, maybe, I don't know, S30V even, do you know what I mean? But that shape, the grip on this knife is amazing.
Yeah. Yoel Adamas, I think is the name, said, yeah, the Swiss was nice for the time, but better steels have come after and designs. Not really sure what you mean there, but I have a Swiss knife, and it just pales in comparison to some of the American knives. And this is an expensive knife right here, made by Castro in birch. But again, I mean, it has that European half-finished look to it, really, is how I would describe them. Good knife, though. Good knife. Good knife.
Somebody was saying,
there's a lot of them, Benchmade. When I think about, the thing about Benchmades is they're just, I don't know. Maybe they're really expensive ones are highly refined, but I don't think they are. And that's the problem, I think, with Benchmade. I mean, they make a rugged, durable knife, a good knife, but I wouldn't put them in some of the categories like the Spyderco you were talking about. That Spyderco making knives in America, they're coming out with some really good looking knives that are more refined, more elegant, better looking.
I the price for Benchmade for me at the minute, I think they've outpriced themselves. And they're going for a market that I don't believe sustainable, but maybe I'm wrong. You know, a 940 now is costing you nearly £200. It's a fantastic knife, but it's what, about 25 years old now, and they're charging at nearly £200 for a 25-year-old model. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
if your car was more expensive than when you bought it in 25 years' time, would you buy that car? You know,
Yeah.
You know,
I quit buying them. You know, I just quit buying them.
I still have a couple to bug out. I have a lovely high-end bug out there, which it's just a fantastic knife. And the 940, I love both them knives. They're two of my favorite knives. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay that price for them. And that will go for Spyderco as well. I mean, when they start bringing out these sprint runs, they charge stupid prices for them. And it's only the collectors, the real genuine collectors, that are going to spend that money on them.
There's got to be enough, right?
Yeah.
They went up in price a couple years ago, and they haven't come down. So I do think they're making a lot more budget-friendly offerings. You know, between the least I've seen them was $170 US dollars. So that's the least. That's a bottom line. And I just got to be honest. If I'm going to spend $180 on a knife, I'm going to buy a different knife. I'm going to buy like a Hogue, right, or some other brands out there.
See, there's another great company too.
I'm going to buy a Spartan or you know, Zero Tolerance. You know, I didn't bring my ZT knife out either, but you know, I'm just going to get a better knife for that kind of money.
Yeah, I mean, Hinder is another company that makes an amazing knife.
Fantastic.
Has done for years. Their fit and finish is amazing. The design on their knives in the hand are just, I just think they're super. Some of the best out there. I mean, this is a slip joint version, but absolutely top of the tree.
So if you exclude China, would you say America's producing the best modern folder in the world?
Do I think no, because I think it's too wide. I think it's too wide. I mean,
I think you're biased.
Well, maybe you're biased. You've ruled out China. I haven't. You ruled out China completely. And the fact of the matter is, they're the best. It doesn't matter whether they're dumping them or not. We have to give them, you know, and the only way we're going to change it is by making better knives at a better price.
But I mean, if they were not subsidized by the government, you know, the government owns that, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, the communist government owns every business in China, and they subsidize them. And I mean, if the government subsidized factories in England, they could be a lot bigger and produce a lot more at a lower cost and be competitive. So I don't see how you can look at the Chinese as, you know, without a question, they produce the best knife in the world, I think. But
which country in the world buys the most Chinese knives? That's my. I know it's a bit controversial, but which country in the world buys the most?
America, but we buy the most drugs too. What's your point?
No, you can't. No, I'm not going to go into the drugs market. But I mean, you can't. In one hand, it's easy, and I hear it an awful lot. And I am a foreigner, so I'm allowed to give my opinion on it. It's all right saying that the labor and all that, whatever you like. But yet America buys the most knives from China. So they're never going to stop giving them if you're going to start taking them. I mean, you have to take them to make them, you know, viable.
Yeah, but they're also the reason we buy the most is because they're producing them at under cost, you know, under cost. So
it's not doing them any harm, though.
I mean, it's just really hard. I brought this. What did I do with it now? I just had it in my hand. I bought this a couple months ago. This is a Kaiser
Yeah.
And this is their low end. Okay, this
Yeah.
is their low end Kaiser, and it was $38. And that knife is just freaking phenomenal, right?
Uh-huh.
So, what would be the difference between their high end knife like this, right? So, this is my Carta scales in it, stainless steel liners. Maybe you could see them shining. Stainless
Yeah.
steel liners on it. Rough micarta here, stainless steel, no anodization. But this thing is built just as good as any other Kaiser. It just has a little lesser materials. It
Yeah.
has a 154 cm steel, my favorite steel, right?
Yeah.
154 cm steel. And there's $38 in America. It's just
Yeah.
obscene. How do you compete against that? You can't. And they can't make this knife for that either, right? So if they're selling it at 38 in America, the Chinese are selling it to us like $15, right? $20. So there's just no way.
But they do the quantity, and that's the thing that I mean, I don't believe that all the Chinese companies are making a loss. I don't believe the government would put machinery, the top end machinery and top end designers into these companies if they were making a loss. I
think American companies and some French, Spanish, German, Italian, and English companies disagree with that. You look at this Adamas. This is a fantastic knife. It's a brute of a knife. It's rugged. It's durable. It's great. This is a great knife, right? But it's not the same knife as this $38 Kaiser. And American companies, I don't think can really produce a knife like this for a competitive price.
There's a few new American companies. Maybe people in the audience would know. There's a few new American companies that are coming along and making knives at a price that's competitive with the Chinese. I've noticed them on watching videos. I don't know what they're even called, to be honest with you. But there is factories starting up that are starting to bring out knives that offer really good high quality. They're even doing out the fronts that were a very reasonable price and a good looking knife.
Well, I think one of the things in America is you have to invest, right? So you have to invest in that machinery.
Yeah.
Be able to which does almost all of the work for you. And then you just put it together and sell it at a reasonable price. But how do we get back on China again? I thought we left that behind.
No, you left it behind.
I thought you were telling me Boker makes the
Boker
knife.
Yeah, I think Boker are a fantastic company. Now, their main company where they hand finish their knives, much like GEC, like Case. I mean, it's a big modern factory. Now, GEC is not so much modern, but the Boker factory is a proper modern factory where they hand make knives.
Yeah. This is, oh, heck. I got to plug in my PC or I'm going to lose it. Hold on. I got a major catastrophe here.
Buy American, it would have bigger batteries.
Yeah, I don't know who made this. Is a what is this? It's a Dell. My computer is a Dell.
Yeah,
who makes those? Is that China?
Is that the cheaper version of
this? No, Boker? This is a high-end Boker. I don't know that you've seen this. It's genuine stag. It's a Barlow, two-bladed Barlow.
Yeah, that's lovely looking. Beautiful. Does it say Boker Soligen on it? Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's a. It was made for a knife club, and there's some
script on. Yeah, I see that.
Gold engraving on there.
Yeah, they make a beautiful knife.
Yeah, it is.
Although the thing with Boker is at the minute is they're stopping the production of multi-bladed knives and going to single blade.
Yeah, because it's cheaper. They're cheating.
Uh-huh.
That's the other thing I have against Bokers. I've got that one I showed you. This one right here. Man, this is a fantastic knife.
Yeah.
This is the Smoky Mountain
Yeah.
exclusive.
That was an amazing offer.
They sell these for like 140 to 180, and I got it for $75. So
Yeah. It's super.
it is really, really nice knife, But it is kind of that modern design. It's very much like a Chinese knife. It's not very traditional. It's not like a buck.
Do you think that's not? I would consider that quite traditional.
It's got pins.
Yeah, it's got pins and it's got that the trapper sort of pattern on it. It's got or a slim, yes, a slim trapper handle on it. I mean, I would call that quite a traditional knife.
I don't know. I'd have. It's just different. I brought some cases out here, not a lot of them, but I don't know. There's a quality that's different about this knife than this GEC. It's just different. I don't know how you can explain it. I don't know that you could articulate it, right? Well, in the way that these knives are put together and made, it's just not the same. They even look different,
Do you mean that it's not as good as, it's not made as well as, or?
No, I couldn't say that. I couldn't say this knife is not made as well as this GEC. I couldn't say that.
Personally, the brass, I find, the brass and that's different. Oh, I can't see it. Yeah.
That's another GEC, but
yeah.
Let me get you back on here. I'm not trying to hide you.
This is a Boker here. This is the club knife.
Yeah.
I think that's traditional all day long to me.
Let me get you up here solo. So
it's in construction. Here's a knife. This is, GEC do a 35 pattern, very similar to this. Exactly the same sort of shape.
Mm-hmm.
The blades maybe not as deep as what this Boker is, but very similar knives. They'll do exactly the same job. Look at that. The blades are very similar. This is an amazing knife. It's a super knife, but this is every bit as good. And this one has 01 tool steel on it compared to the 1095. Does it make a big difference? No, but it is a better steel for, for longevity.
It's a better steel.
Boker, I think, make an absolutely amazing knife.
Hold on a minute. Hold that thought. Mr. Willie Matt Glass. So you're, I think, up in Scandinavia. What do you think about what we've been talking about the best knives in the world? What's your opinion on that? Who do you think is making the best knife? He said that Buck makes Rambo knives. There you go. That's great.
I wouldn't be as much of a Buck lover as somebody who'd been brought up with them. And I think that's probably the only reason. I mean, this year I bought a couple of Bucks and I've been completely impressed. This is the 112.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely amazing knife, but it's not what I would carry as an EDC knife.
Right. So it's different, right? It's different because you have an internal bias because where you live, you didn't have a need for like a Buck 110, and it wasn't there. It wasn't available. It hasn't been available for what, 50 years maybe?
Oh, we can buy these here all day long. There's a Buck store in London.
Yeah, but what need do you have of it?
Well, if I'm going camping or whatever, I would take that with me.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going out for a day to have a wee fire at the side of the woods and make a cup of tea, I would take this with me because I think it's a fantastic knife. I love using it. As a user knife, this is one of the best out there. I like the weight of it when I'm, going to go out and use it. But I mean, I bought this Buck this year, which is a modern Buck, and I personally highly rate this more than this is a slip joint. This is the Buck Saunter. I adore this knife. It's got a big handle to a small blade, but if you got a large hand, it's just perfect for me. It's only got a 2.5-inch blade, but one of the best slip joints I've got, modern slip joints I've got. So I do the, and I think, well, it's probably the same with all companies. There's some of the stuff I think is very much Americana, and what the likes of people sort of my age were brought up with. So you have that sentimental, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's perfect. I am making no, I mean, it's like me and Arthur, right? I love the new ones, but the older ones I love as well. So, but it is, you know, the 112 is just super. This is an S30V. Again, I've gone for the more modern steel rather than the 420. Not that the 420 is bad, but when I can get S30V at the same, when I bought this secondhand, so when I can get the S30V for the same price, I'll always go for the S30V. And this has S30V. Is this S30V? No, I think this is 154 cm. Yeah, this is 154 cm, which again, like you, I love. So yeah, I think Buck is a great company. And absolutely nothing wrong with them as a company. It's still family run, which is so rare. I mean, they'll look after anybody who's got a Buck knife, whether you're the original owner or not, which I think is amazing.
So I just did a video talking a little bit about artistry and the artistry of a knife and the intent of the owner. And, you know, I didn't want to make it a really long video, but along those same lines, when you have somebody who owns a company and is producing a knife and they own the company, they're going to try to produce the best product they can because their name is on it, right? Their name is on it. There's a big difference between that and a company who's just producing knives for money, you know, to make money. And so I agree. When you look at Buck and companies that are family owned, there's a lot of them that you could point out. It's a totally different situation, you know, a totally different knife that you get. And it may not be the best in the world, but a lot of passion goes into those knives, you know, and you can feel it, you know, you can feel it.
Soul. It's got, the knife has a bit of soul, like my GEC. That's why I like them. There's a bit of soul in them. I know where the owner came from. I know what his intent is, and he just wants to get the best knife he can make out. And I genuinely believe that's what he wants, because he didn't increase the size of his company. He's just kept it going. Everybody was demanding more of them, but he didn't. He just kept it going because that's what he wants. He has passion for the knives that he's making, and that goes a long, long way with me. Yeah, and especially now that the British markets, which I know most about, like Arthur Wright, Taylor's Eyewitness, they're starting to put their knives back in the market again. They're getting out there again. Yeah, they're getting people to review their knives, and so
I would just love to see the English knife industry explode. You know, I wish that could happen. Americans love them. You know, they could sell them all day here.
Yeah, and when they are, but they're actually selling in America now, and you're getting them at usually a pound or two cheaper than what we can get them.
Yeah.
Just with the, you know, the custom laws. But I mean, and I think it's fantastic. I mean, that fella's doing a great job over there at selling the knives.
We're going to have a pretty good conversation here.
Yeah.
Okay. You gotta have a floating knife.
Yeah, has to float. I'm one of them lucky people. I lose, you know, a lot of things I'll misplace, but I don't lose a whole lot of things. I've never lost a knife as such.
I never have.
My knife, when I went, especially when I used to go out bushcraft and all, the knife was the one thing that I kept my eye on and put it where it was going to be safe, whether it be in my pocket or on top of a chair, so that I wouldn't lose it. I didn't leave it lying in the dirt.
Yeah. When I was younger, when I was from 16 up to 24, I did stupid stuff like I'd swim across a river, right?
Yeah.
Hey, it's only water. Now there were alligators in the water, but you know, I'd swim across the river. I never lost a knife doing that, or anything like that. And I've never lost one in a while.
No, we didn't. I mean, God, we used to take our knives with us because when we went down the beach to fish, we used to have, it was like a bamboo pole, and we used to buy the nylon from the shop, for the,
Mm-hmm.
and we tied them up. We used knives to work all the notches in it, and it was in your pocket. So I mean, it just got.
When I skinned in the woods, I always carry. I still do it. I always have a bandana with me. And when I was hunting and skinning in the woods, I'd lay that bandana out on the ground, and I was putting, because if you get a large game, you've got to pull down the weight on that. Some people will even quarter it to haul it back, but it all depends on the size game. But even with small game like rabbits or squirrels, I would go ahead and gut them so that they didn't go bad by the time you get back, right? It helped keep them from spoiling. But I always set my knife and the tools I was using on that handkerchief, right? So I didn't, and I think that happens a lot when people lose knives. I think most guys are losing knives because they're doing something with them. They set them down, and then they get to doing something else, and they forget, right? They forget where it's at.
And can I just say, who was the young fella? Was it a young fella that said about knives that float?
Right.
Knife companies,
oxy-free.
Yeah, knife companies had a way of dealing with that. Here's a knife with a clevis on it. You tie a string on it, tie it to your belt loop, and that's it. Keep it in your pocket. Bit of string on it. Take it out. You can't drop it in the boat because you've got a bit of string on it. Yeah, so they had an answer for the floating knife. The only trouble is it sank with you.
That's a really, really old idea, right?
Yeah.
Really, really old idea.
Yeah.
Oxy-free, just get you a knife that has a clasp on it, and put you a lanyard and click that lanyard to your belt. Because you never know. I mean, look at that guy. There was a guy in America. He was out west climbing, and a rock came down and pinned his arm, and he ended up cutting his arm off so that he could get free, because he got to the point where their people came by and they couldn't hear him yelling. So people had been down the trail, but he finally realized, if I don't cut my arm off, I'm going to die. And so he cut his arm off, and that's why you always need a knife on you. You just never know what you're going to be up against.
When I used to fly fish in rivers, I used to use one of these the little tools that you pinned onto your tourniquet with a pull out bit of string on it. I'm trying to think of the and you used to pull it out with your knife on the end of it. So you let it go, it came up to your chest, it hung there, it was safe all day. Yeah. So there's ways to do that if you're a knife loser. I mean, and they don't have to be.
I would imagine they still make those, but like we used to use them on keychains, right?
Yeah.
You just pull it out. It was like a tape measure.
That's it.
Put it on your belt, and you pull it out, and you just clip something onto it, and let it go back.
I used to have scissors and a knife hanging off me all the time when I was fishing. They still sell. Go to any good fishing shop will sell them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you go on Amazon and type it in, they probably sell them.
All right, let's go. You want to go a little further, or are you done for the day?
No, I'm okay for a while. If you want to go on for a little while, I don't even know what time it is.
We'll go on a little bit longer. Let's take America out of the equation. Who's making the best European knives? Is it Italy, France, Spain, Germany, Sweden?
I think for the quality and the amount they're making, it has to be Italy at the minute, I think.
Yeah.
For my opinion, I mean, they're making some amazing knives and at good prices. That's a
That's a
lovely
little
one.
Vostead nightshade. I love this little knife.
Yep, I keep meaning to get one of them. They're a lovely looking little knife.
I love this. Is very affordable. It's got G10 scales. It's extremely light, and I love that they anodize the thumb studs as an accent.
Yeah,
Um, even when you go, that modern folder I got, or modern traditional I got. This is from Viper. This
yeah.
is an awesome knife, and it is a little more expensive. Like I think it usually lists around 110, but it's titanium scales. And what is the steel on this? I think it's M390. Yeah, M390 steel
For a
made by
hundred quid,
Block.
you're set for life. That's a knife that'll last you your lifetime.
Look at that knife.
It's a really pretty knife, really well milled.
It's just fantastic, and I paid $80 for it. But
Yeah,
I always try to get knives. Look at that back. See the milling on the back liner, that twisted liner.
beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and the Maniago area of Italy, they're here's the way to beat the Chinese, because Maniago is doing it.
Yeah.
They're already doing it. They've
Mhm.
joined together. There's 3 or 4, there's probably more now, maybe 5 or 6 knife companies within that area,
Yeah.
and they all have different expertise at doing certain knives or doing the blades or whatever. And they join together and they make a knife that's made up from parts from maybe 3 different factories, and they just name it under Maniego. And they're now producing knives that are high quality, high steels, great fit and finish, and they're keeping it at a price that's as cheap as the Chinese.
That's a Vulpes. Again,
Yeah,
titanium scales, modern slip joint. Okay,
yeah,
it's pinned. It's not screwed. It's
yeah.
pinned.
It's
And
lovely.
that thing's a fantastic little pen knife.
Uh-huh.
These things are sharp. Man, are they sharp?
Yeah, they're
Uh,
not. You're not getting many knives out of Maniago that are not fit and finish pretty good most of the time.
and this
Uh,
this is crazy. That's M390 steel on that.
yeah, tiny little knife.
Uh, Fantastic little knife though.
But yeah, I think Italy stands out a lot. I'm trying to think of another. I think Japan as well. I mean, I think you maybe have to hunt a bit to find out where they're selling them. Um, I don't know whether they can compete price wise when they're importing them to the States or over to here. I mean,
Do you think Moki's a custom manufacturer or a factory made?
production, yeah, they're a production company.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with Japan. I'm excited, to see them expand and get in the market again.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but I think they're being tarred with the same brush as being Chinese, and that's really hurt them over the years.
Oh, they're not. They're not.
No, they're definitely not. No. I'm
Um,
looking down here at a stack of knives here because I mean, you could actually then break this down, and this is where I think if you were to break it down to traditional knives that are pre 2000, then I think America ruled the world, as in the knives that were made. I'll give you that. They ruled the world.
yeah,
Well, back before that, um, they had so many companies, like your Shreds and your, all sorts, Robinson, Shatton Morgan. They had such a variety of knives. And I think, them days are gone. I don't think they'll ever come back. There's not enough demand for that sort of knife now, I don't think.
yeah. On the traditional side, it's
Yeah, which is sad. Yeah.
we're all about it because we're in the knife community.
Yeah.
But the reality is 70% of the knives sold in the U.S. are modern folders.
Yeah.
That's the big thing,
I mean,
and when you look at that share, that 30% share, that's being split between lockbacks, traditionals,
yeah.
uh, fishing knives, hunting knives,
Yeah.
swords. And so the actual amount of traditional folders being produced in the U.S., it seems like a lot, because we're into it, but it's not a really big part of the market.
And I'll tell you what I do like, though. I am starting to find now there's more and more people across the age groups are getting into old traditionals,
Yeah.
like the old Shreds, like the Shatton Morgans,
Yeah.
the companies that have sort of dissolved now, Queen, that have they're gone to China now. So I think there's more and more, probably younger ones is the right word to say, that are actually getting into wanting to collect them. And I find that exciting for me because that's where most of my collecting goes. I have a selection of modern now, very, very small now. I just don't, I'm literally down to about 20.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
had,
that's even a smaller, and I might be wrong about that, but at least in the YouTube community, the vintage knife collecting is a lot smaller, and I wish more people would get into it.
well,
I think
that's
they're
what I'm saying.
scared to get into it, but
I noticed this last couple of years on YouTube that the amount we have now is massive compared to what we had even 5, 6 years ago that are collecting. Because I know the crowd we have in the UK and a lot of the American boys are on the Slip Joint Sanitarium, and
yeah,
there's so many of them in there from all around the world, and a lot of them are loving the traditional knives again. And I
yeah.
just
I
think
mean,
that's great.
I didn't mean to talk about vintage knives, so I did
Uh,
bring. This is a Westinghouse vintage Westinghouse, and these knives, you're complaining about the quality of traditionals coming out of America today, whether it be Case or GC or anything. These knives are very affordable, and it's fantastic. So this would put a GEC to shame. This Westinghouse right here, and that knife I showed in my last video I did. I don't know whether you've seen that or not, but it's a Robeson. It's
yeah,
a 3 5/8 inch whittler, right? Sleeve board whittler. That thing is just unbelievable. I mean, the video doesn't do it justice. You know what I mean? The liners were nickel. Everything's nickel silver on it. The liners were milled on it. Had brass bearings on it, and it's just a fantastic knife. And it cost me $59, right? But
yeah.
a lot of them, like the other two videos I did this week on Western knives. Both those Western knives are fantastic knives. I paid $25 for them.
Yeah.
You know? And
I like,
they just beat the pants off the case. Now they're not as pretty as a case. Yeah.
well, this is definitely as pretty as the case. That's a Robeson.
Robeson, yeah.
And
So that was made by Queen.
yeah, this is new old stock.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely amazing. I paid £90 for this, which I think was a bargain because it's immaculate. It's literally as if it's never been used. I just think it is stunning. It's a 2-blade, but it's beautiful. Look at them bolsters on it. Look at
Yeah. Hold on, let me get you solo here so it'll show up better. Go ahead, do it again.
I mean, these are the sort of knives that are out there. You just have to hunt for them. I hunted for years, especially over in the UK.
Yeah.
You really have to hunt and find out people who have these sort of knives and do sell them. I just think this is as good as any modern knife you put in front of me. It is stunning. The fit and finish on the back of it is immaculate. The bone is hand jigged and not machine jigged. It's random. It's just lovely.
It's so just for the audience, okay, not for you, Patty, but for the audience, you can find those knives for $100, less than $100 on eBay. You have to look around a little bit. You have to be patient. Sometimes you have to interact with people. You say, hey, they're asking 140. You say, I'll give you 100.
Yeah.
Wheel and deal with them a little bit. But and that knife there, it is better than most case knives. Not all of them. I got some good case knives, but
that's when I think there's
my case knives out here. There you go. What is that one?
That's a Shatton Morgan. Look at that beautiful bone, that burnt bone on it.
Yeah.
It is absolutely Again, this was brand new. It had never been used, new old stock. Again, this cost £90. Quite happy to pay for it. You can probably get them cheaper in the States, but even over here, I'm happy to pay £90 for something like this because the fit and finish on it is just immaculate. You know, you can't find a flaw with this knife.
I wish I didn't I just put all my knives away. I wish I hadn't done that, but now that we're into the vintage things, but yeah, I mean, if you love traditional knives, with eBay is just like a fraction of my traditional knives I've picked up at flea markets or antique shops and places like that. Most of them have been off of eBay, and eBay has really changed the market, you know, for traditional knives.
Well, over here, it's on the Facebook groups is the best place to find the knives. And I mean, like, here's another one. There's a case knife. Now, this is one of the Tony Bowes specials once a year. This is an ATS 34. It is an absolutely gem of a Tony Bowes. Everything's rounded. It's so comfortable in the hand. It's a modern, you know, but it's a modern interpretation of an older knife that Tony Bowes used to bring back. This is just a stunning. Now, this is the only thing sometimes with case, which I don't get with a lot of others, is even on this was about $300 when they're at the show. Yeah. But it's not, it hasn't been hafted properly up here. You can, if you hear, it catches it. Now, it's never going to affect the knife, and it doesn't. I just like the fact that it was a Tony Bowes proper design, and it's just stunning.
Well, but it's like, we've talked about this before, and I've talked about it with other people. You know, my case knives, I've had a very good experience with case. This is one right here. It's a perfect knife. Okay. Perfect knife. Beautiful muskrat in what do they call this? Cabernet. They call it
Cabernet. Yes, that's it. Beautiful.
And beautiful brass shield on it. And you know, they're just beautiful knives, but you know, these are prettier than the vintage knives, but a lot of people like that old time bone. Here's an old Boker. This is probably a 1950s Boker right there, a little peanut, and that's old bone. Let's see if I could get it in. Could just barely see it there. Man, I hate we don't have the views here.
Here's another little Italian one. This is a Mazzarine. Now, this one's just a little small pen knife, but the bone is hand jigged, and this knife didn't cost that much at all. Brand new. I mean, this is a new. It's not old, but it looks old, and it's been well finished, which is lovely.
Check out this Mazzarine here. This is. I'd like to get them. I'd like them to make more of these, and I'd like to get more from them. But look at the thickness of the bone on that.
Yeah, beautiful.
And then it's marbled. It's well made. Very aggressive jigging. Can you see that jigging on there?
It's beautiful. Yeah, good knobbly jigging.
Fantastic knife. This is Mazzarine, Italian company. I wish they'd do more of the stuff like that.
Yeah, I have to say, you know, all these modern production companies that make knives, even traditionals, when you look at the older models, like I was thinking of this. I was talking about my 940 the other day, and you know, it's not a modern knife anymore. Again, it's 20-odd-year-old pattern. Yeah. But you see, as a basic EDC work knife that will do anything, I just think the 940 can't be beaten. It is such a super, super knife. And I know everybody wants all these really ultra thin, you know, that would cut the skin off a tomato. Sometimes that's not what you want in a knife. Sometimes you want a knife that's going to do a bit of work if you're, you know, doing DIY about the house. You want to stick it in and jam it about or turn a screw with it. That's what the 940 was made for, farming tasks. Yeah. And I just, So a lot of my knives now are just older patterns from the companies that are now making all the modern ones, and I
Yeah.
still love the older ones.
Well, I don't have a big collection of them, but here's a leak.
Yeah,
Aluminum scales, right? These things run around $70. Some of the more expensive steels will put them up to around 100. But that, I mean, basically, you know, that's what the 940 is, you know, and it just, you can't really fathom Benchmade pushing that knife out there for the
yeah,
prices they're put. I mean, the bottom line is around 220 right now.
yeah.
The
It's
bottom
just,
line 940, and then it just goes up. And
yeah,
you're right. I mean, you know, there it's aluminum scales, you know,
yeah.
so
And it's a basic steel. Most of them,
yeah.
you know, it's going to be S30V. It's nothing, you know, it's a great steel, but it's nothing spectacular. It's not pricey.
Well, I mean,
It,
everybody else. I mean, they're selling those for in the $70 range,
yeah,
S30V, right?
uh, absolutely.
So, you know, 70 to 120, and they're putting S30V on knives for $300 and $400. They're out of their minds. They're out of their minds. But, all right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. I haven't cleaned the house yet. I am married. My wife works. I'm retired. So, what'd she call me? Manservant. I'm the manservant. So,
Just be thankful you're not having any more children.
well, what's the Bible say? Yeah, don't laugh because Moses' wife laughed at 90 and God gave her another child, right? So I never laugh about that. That's not
No, no,
funny. I don't want another child.
no, definitely
So
not. Thank you very much for those in the talk box tonight. I think he's had a fairly good chat in there.
yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. I really appreciate your feedback, and I really thought we'd get more, you know, talking about Chinese knives, especially when we claim they made the best knives in the world. But I think most people agree, you know.
Yeah, sadly, it's a thing of the times, and until you see, the trouble is, you can't stop something like that unless a whole country decides, right, we're not going to buy any more Chinese stuff. But we're in this situation in this world now where it's too late. They've already got such a hold on us.
Yeah,
Like we don't make our own phones anymore. All phones are Chinese made.
yeah.
We don't do all the basic communication things even. So I mean, where it's going to end, it's going to be I'm going to be long gone before it changes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what will change it. But I mean, other companies, I think the Italians, before just to finish off, I think that Italian culture they have in Maniago, where they join together and then they can produce knives of different prices, you know, different qualities, but they'll do it between them and that they share the profits between. I just think that's a brilliant way of combating anybody.
Well, guess what that reminds me of?
Sheffield.
Yeah, that's how Sheffield did it. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize that. There were
They,
factories there, but even the people that worked in the factories, you know, like Westinghouse rented out space,
yeah.
and you made knives for Westinghouse, but when you were done, you made your own knives, right? You rented that space,
Yeah.
and so most of the cutlers in Sheffield were like Freemasons. You know, they kind of banded together and they did things, and
They
there's
still do.
famous examples of where countries needed. One time, Italy needed some swords made, and nobody could do it. And Sheffield did it in 3 months. And the way they did it is everybody banded together and made them, where a factory could not have done it. You know,
No, they still actually do that. They'll make things for other, make parts. If they've got a better machine for cutting blades and you need a lot of them cut at a certain time, they do it between themselves now still. So, that's a lovely way to go.
And to a lesser extent, America did that too, right? So, like Case quit producing their what do you call them? Marlin spike knives. What I forgot what you call those knives. Knives with the marlin spike on them.
Yeah.
Right. So Case quit producing those, and Camillus made them for Case.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but they weren't Case made, and they all did that. So Case made knives for Schrade, and Western made knives for Case and for Schrade, and those companies, they helped each other out, and were for production.
And I think people do forget that all the big knife companies were OEMs back then. They didn't call them OEMs. They were just producing for each other. If they had big orders that they had to get fulfilled, other companies fulfilled their basic everyday knives or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know
maybe
whether
Americans will figure that out again, right? Hey, why don't we do like we used to? Help each other out.
I think that would be lovely. It'll probably take newer companies to come together to do that, because I think the likes of Buck and Case probably will not share now. I don't think there's that. I think that they're so big now. I don't think they would do that sort of thing anymore. But you never know. You never know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing now, right? I'm not really sure if they would or they do help each other out. They may do it somewhat, maybe not to the extent that they used to, but
I know Medford's got a thing going now with what do you call that company? Oh, come on, Stephen.
GEC's doing that. GEC's making knives for other people.
Yeah, GEC has from the beginning sort of made knives for other people. Special factory orders. Somebody said in the beginning, GEC and Northwoods are made by GEC.
Right.
It's just an OEM for knife ship. Is it Knife Ships Free?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Knife Ships Free. Yeah. They make them for them, and they're that's an OEM. They also make them. There's quite a few companies that they do knives for OEM.
Well, I think Medford and K-Bar are.
That's the one over there. Yeah,
to enter a collaboration, right?
Very much so. Yeah, and they're doing a basic knife, not a Medford price knife. They're doing
right.
So that would be interesting to see what they come up with and what the style of it's like.
Well, I think if that's successful and it goes off really big, I think we could see more of that, because you see little bits of that. You don't really know what's going on, but there are companies who are making knives for other companies, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was one recently, I think last year. One of the major manufacturers made a knife for somebody else, and in a small way, right? But
Medford has done it before.
Starting to see more of that, where like Spartan Blades, or who made that? I'm not thinking of Spartan Blades. I'm thinking about I can't think of them now.
Medford's already done it before. He's done OEMs for other companies.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's there. If they would just maybe amplify it, you'd be able to get the quantity that would maybe mean you're not going to have to import so many Chinese knives.
Well, he wants to make a huge factory, so that's what he's working to. He's going to make a huge factory, and he wants to take part of that factory and dedicate it for OEM, right? And so that's starting to happen in America.
And the other thing I just want to say before I start, I was teasing a bit about, who's buying the Chinese knives. I was teasing, but it is sort of reality. I mean, Britain is no means to talk to. They won't even let us have locking knives. So we're the biggest chickens in the world for not standing up to governments. So please don't think I was picking on Americans, but
we don't really care.
No, I mean, I wouldn't do that, because that's not what I'm here for. But it is something that
Americans don't care. They really don't. You can pick on them all you want. They don't care.
Yeah. I've had a couple of broken noses saying that, not to say too much.
Oh,
but no, yeah. I mean, it was
different,
more tongue in cheek than it was trying to be rude.
No, I don't. I don't think people, especially in the knife community, they don't take that seriously.
Somebody
hey, Bruno, glad you joined us in the from Brazil, brother.
Well,
Love to
there you
get
go.
some Brazilian knives. Maybe we could do some trading.
There's a Brazilian knife for you, one of the best knife makers in the world.
Here you go. Check this out, Bruno.
There's a Romano.
Hold it. Brazilian knife there, Bruno.
There is one of the best made and finished knives I have ever held and probably ever will. It is an amazing piece of cutlery made by a true master. Beautiful, beautiful knife from Brazil and still making today. The trouble is, it's about a 2-year waiting list to get a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my pride and joy, a Brazilian knife.
Look at what Willie McGlass is saying. Do you know that knife? I'm not familiar with it. The box.
I like the box joint. Yes, yeah.
Cho.
Been my car about 42 years. Yes, modern slip joint. Yeah, I think I had one quite a while back now, but yes, really nice knives. I just think the Italians have definitely they've got the right way of going to keep themselves relevant and be able to get out modern new knives at a reasonable price. And I don't think any of their knives are overpriced compared to what else is out there.
I like what I see in Spain too. I think they're on the right track. You know?
Yeah, I've got Spain. I haven't got any of their newer knives. I have a couple of old Spanish knives, but yeah,
you know
I think I get a Spanish one.
I think what the Spanish lack is custom involvement, right? So these custom makers, that's another thing that the Italians are doing. They have aligned themselves with a lot of custom makers who are coming up with these designs, right? And I'm not sure that I've seen that out of Spain. I don't think I've seen any of their knives that are custom collaborations, right?
Yeah, that would be nice to get some proper, not proper, but different designs that are maybe more a little bit up to date, but having that old Spanish look.
Maybe in England you could see some of that. Maybe with all you're starting to attract a pretty good crowd of custom makers there. So maybe there's some collaboration between them guys, you know.
Yeah, all them things would be absolutely lovely. I'd just love it. And then, just talking about news, and I'm only talking it because it's on here, and I wouldn't have done it on my own channel tonight. This weekend past, there was primary school children, like the kindergarten children, having a summer dance in a local hall.
Mm-hmm.
And some 17-year-old kid walked in there with a knife. He's killed 3 of the children and stabbed another 9. And stabbed 2 of the teachers who tried to stop him. I mean, that just over here, it'll be cries again for banned knives. And it's...
Well, it doesn't stop that.
No, it doesn't at all. It's not the knife that's doing it. I mean,
I worked in a prison. I should show some of them. I've got some shanks, from prison. And that's the most controlled environment on earth, right?
Yeah.
And they just make them. So you're not going to stop people from stabbing other people. That's not the answer. Taking away the knives is not the answer.
They have to fix humans. There's too many mentally ill people in the world at the moment, whether it's through drugs, drink, or whatever, just mental illness. And until they fix that problem, they're not going to solve any of this sort of problems. But the woke people out there will just be screaming again at government to ban more knives over here, and it's just crazy. Yep. But I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed having you here with us. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
Okay, and let me get back on here. And so we're going to let you all go. Thanks so much for joining the channel. Hope you really enjoyed it. I hope it was interesting. I like hearing other people's comments. I really appreciate it when people comment and let me know what they're thinking, because I appreciate that. I like to hear what other people's opinions are. And, I really enjoy, one of the things I enjoy having Stephen as a friend is the different perspectives, he brings to knives. And so I hope you all enjoy it too. And we're going to let you go.
Yeah. and we both have these chats when you're not here.
That's true. We do.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye now. Thank you.